Hello, my name is James Drinkwater. I'm a qualified trainer for Symmetric. Symmetric are a well-connected, well-respected professional training organization which have supported the industry for many years. We wanted to give you an insight to a particular training relative to Annex 1 for medicinal product manufacturing. We all know in pharmaceutical products and ATMP product manufacturing, we now have a new challenge: compliance to a revised annex that's taken many years in the revision process, but with the publication and an effective date of the 25th of August 2023, we are all challenged with that compliance requirement. There are new requirements. There are enhanced requirements. We need to understand these. We need a gap analysis to recognize gaps to fill, gaps to improve on in our controls and our past documentation, risk assessments, for instance. This training will give you an insight to the implementation of Annex 1 and how to meet those challenges. I'll just share my screen. So to give you an insight from the background that I can give you from Annex 1, my name is James Drinkwater. As I said, I am a GMP compliance, a head of GMP compliance for Franzil in Germany, largest isolator and RABS manufacturer. But importantly, my connection as ex-chairman and honorary member of the Pharmaceutical and Healthcare Sciences Society is that linked to Annex 1 and its revision process. I was involved as a co-lead on the Annex 1 focus group for the PHSS, and they were one of the appointed commenting platforms of the 12 that were appointed by the European Commission for commenting on the targeted consultation process. So I co-led that targeted consultation, taking in comments from PHSS members, Pharmaceutical Quality Group UK, R3 Nordic in Scandinavia, JPAG, the Joint Pharmaceutical Analysis Group in the UK. And these groups used our platform for commenting on Annex 1. I co-chaired also recently an Annex 1 forum discussion after the publication, which included Alan Moon, which is the MRHA representative on the PICS drafting group of Annex 1, and also Andy Hopkins, the ex-rapporteur, ex-MRHA of Annex 1, Di Morris, ex-MRHA, and also Tracy Moore, ex-MRHA, key regulatory connections to this revision process. We're now discussing where clarity is required. Every requirement in this new 50 pages isn't as clear as we would like it to be. Some are open to interpretation. And importantly, in interpretation, we need to understand regulatory intent. Our interpretation needs to follow the intent. If we don't understand the intent, we could be the other end of the spectrum of interpretation, which will lead us into challenges and problems. We need to understand what really an effective gap analysis outcome is expected to be. And that will lead to the preparation of a key new requirement, a contamination control strategy. This contamination control strategy requirement sets a marker for meeting an holistic approach, a paradigm shift in regulations, taking a risk-based, holistic, and proactive approach to contamination control, using trending metrics, using new technologies, using approaches that are well-defined and connected within this strategy. The connection as a narrative, as a storyboard, provides an insight to the company's knowledge of process and risk, and is a key document that will be sought and looked at intensely by any regulatory authority or GMP auditor. We have to consider implementation and planning for effective meeting the effective date of the 25th of August. But most industry recognize that you won't be able to achieve full compliance to everything by this date. So there will be justifications for extensions to this date. The commenting platforms, group association, the 12 of us, agreed that there were 5 main topics that were really probably taking more time than the 1-year effective date. So we prepared some draft outlines of justifications, which we sent to the inspectors working group. We can provide through this training an insight to what that justification looked like. So you know what the regulatory authorities have already seen sight of as probably a justification for extension. Through the gap analysis, we will see where new requirements don't fit. How are you going to cover like legacy facilities? How are you going to cover improvements to get to, through that product life cycle? The clarity of requirements is fundamental, and this training will cover all the discussions that we've had on clauses that don't actually give the clarity that they should, and this will be a key learning from this training. We also know that PICS have published a copy version of Annex 1, and with its 52 member states, it speaks for itself of the international relevance of this annex. The contamination control strategy is the most fundamental new requirement, and it's specific, it's not generic, it's not just a list of documents that you have on site. It's a storyboard connecting the contamination control measures and monitoring metrics that maintain assurance of product sterility. We also know the scopes have been extended in Annex 1 to non-sterols that require bioburden control, to ATMPs that have a separate GMP but are expected also to comply to Annex 1. And we're going to have to look at how we fit all these requirements into our CCS and our justifications. Now, accepting also Annex 1 is a paradigm shift in regulations. It's underpinned by a fundamental principle of quality risk management. To meet this paradigm shift, ICH Q9 for QRM has also been revised. So understand this major revision and what that means to GMP compliance. And in support of that, we see a new ICH guidance on product life cycles, Q12. So we're having to consider now life cycle strategies. So this training will look at a new paradigm in regulations. It's one that importantly should not be missed. And really we want to connect compliance and all the elements of compliance through this training, and we will give you that insight. And I encourage your participation and look forward to meeting you in this training. Thank you and appreciate your time.